Hi guys, it's Drew here. I'm here to make a video today on something that I have decided to do, something I've decided to create as part of a pathway for creativity and spirituality and to connect those two together. And so I wanted to share with you guys in case you wanted to try it yourself, but these are just really just suggestions from my own practice that I'm going to be doing and working into the daily creative challenge that I'm doing with Bard's Lament, Larissa. And so I think it's been about a little bit over a week now since I've started that and writing a sentence a day. Some days I've been doing poems and I've really enjoyed that. I realized today that there was a lot of energy circulating in me around a lot of fears that I've been having, a lot of experiences that I've been having, especially relating to the story that I'm writing because it is a work in me shifting a lot of consciousness, a lot of conscious residue, a lot of societal conditioning, a lot of fear when I'm writing this novel. Not all the time, because I can go for months and months without ever sort of feeling fear, and I just feel exhilaration because I love the story, I love the characters, and it's just a pure joy experience for the most part. Every now and again, though, I get to a point in the story where I know I have to crack shit open in my own consciousness and awareness and practice to be able to shift that for my character. And I've mentioned time again, as you all know, that my experiences with my character is not just, you know, simply, a character sheet. This woman is magical. This woman is um, made of my magic. She is created from my magic, and I sustain her as she sustains my practice. So it is a connection, and I think I've sort of been a little bit um, too up here lately, which is not a problem with me, but I've realized that I need to ground myself in this story a little bit more, ground myself because one thing I do love about this story, but man, sometimes it takes me on these like tangential, experimental, psyche paths where I'm questioning a lot of stuff in the universe, and which is fine, but sometimes I need to separate those two just a little bit to make sure that I am sticking with the natural intent of this story. So I kind of sometimes like sometimes write scenes just for the pure enjoyment and exploring these things, but I also need to come back to writing the novel because it is and primarily was when it started out and always will be at the heart of it a novel and a story that I want to share because there is a message in it. There's many messages that I feel I need to speak about from my heart and my body and my mind and my experiences in meditation, dream world, astral, but also on the physical and my experience of my time on earth. And I feel like it's not just me, it's this character and it's the other characters as well. Like every character that I have um, has a beautiful, unique, harrowing, um, insightful, engaging, uh, transformative, tower wrecking, storm rendering story. Like I could just so many words. There's so many characters in this novel that I feel such an affinity to, such a connection with, and I've always said that I could easily spend months and years just writing one particular character story from birth to death. Like, not that I would probably publish that because that would be insane, but I can still do it. And so, I wanted to talk to you guys about a project that I'm starting. It's a mini project that I really wanted to carry on through the full moon to the end of the new moon again. And I'm not sure how this is going to go because I'm not quite sure what the energy of this cycle is going to be or has been. We're moving into Capricorn, and Capricorn for me is a really weird energy. Uh, but we're going to go with that. And so I'm going to talk to you about it. I have some notes down just for some ideas about what I'm going to explore and the overarching sort of plan or idea of what I wanted to do. So it came to mind after meditation with using the wildwood that wildwood tarot, that I really wanted to work with a man, a lovely forest man who has turned up in my psyche through meditation, through path work, and dreams. And so, oh, sorry, I had this incident where I experienced a meditation, and then a couple of days later, this card turned up in the tarot, and it was kind of weird because I just knew instinctively that whatever was on the card and it was whatever was in the book linked up to this meditation, right down to the tree smack bang in the middle of the two of us. And so this lovely man, a forest creature, wants to connect with me. So I am really open to that because I had asked I would like to find 3 guides. And at first I was like, show me these 3 guides in the dream. Like, bam, show me right now. Like, I want to meet all these people, let's join the party. And then I realized, no, Drew, you've already got so much stuff going on in your head, and little mini projects that are like conjoining together. Dedicate a certain amount of time to spending with this being and establish a relationship with this person. And so I was thinking, because I have been doing a lot of astral dreaming, creative work with the tarot, conversations, tuning into crystals, programming crystals, creating stuff like that. I'm just going to have a drink for a second. I decided that I wanted to use the culmination of these learnings that I have been learning and put them into practice before I go any deeper, or I guess to the next level of um, practicing. I always find that because I'm such a hungry, thirsty learner, like I always need to learn more, practice, explore things, question things. I find that if I don't start to implement it enough, then there's this whole bunch of information that I haven't used. And um, I guess with working with tarot has really helped me with this. And so it's something that I decided that I want to do. I wanted to take what I've learned over the past at least 2 weeks or so, really, and put it into paper, practice, and really use it as a creative standing foundation for me to build off other things and find other projects to work with. Because when the next cycle comes, I kind of already have a few ideas about what my intentions are going to be for the next moon cycle and what I want to work on creatively. And I really wanted to build a bridge, I guess, from me to get from the rest of this cycle to the next one. So I also got a crystal grid today, and the crystal grid was the seed of creation, and I won't show you because it's actually got crystals on it right now charging. So the idea is 7 days of dreaming, astral travel, and story delving, and I'll be going through from the Fool to the Chariot. My intention is to go through the whole 22 cards, but I'm not quite sure how it's going to work just yet. I don't need to map this out all the way. I wanted to get from the Fool to movement, to establish that connection with these energies, with that being in this land, wherever he wants to take me or wherever we go together. And just to get from initiation to movement, because I feel like once I've gotten through movement, then we'll be getting closer to the new moon again, and I will know where I sit with the stories. So if you're wanting to do this, I'm going to be making a couple of videos this week, just making some suggestions or sharing my daily experiences with what I've done so far. I won't be showing everything or sharing everything, but I definitely will be seeing what comes up that I feel would benefit other people. And so, if you're wanting to do this, you would probably want to look at deciding whether you want a dream guide, a story, character, or something that you've created. You want to work with goddess or god or ancestor or any kind of energy that you feel like you would want to dedicate that time to for 7 days. If you don't know anyone, if you don't work with anyone, if there's no dreamy women or men that you want to work with or beings that you want to work with, use a tarot card. Use the archetypes in the tarot, because they will probably present themselves to you through this exercise. And if they don't, then that's okay. You've had that experience with that archetype. And so I decided to use the Tarot of the She to represent who I'm going to be working with. Well, yeah, mainly the energy. And so I started with the Fool, as I said, and the Tarot of the She to me connects me with a lot of Celtic, interdimensional sort of ET energy, but also I just feel like this to me fits with where, like, the energies that I'm working with in my astral and dream world anyway, and within my story as well. And I would like to connect with this being to help me with my creative story as well. So, and I do want to keep them slightly separated. So my work with this character won't be going into the story, but he may assist me with my creativity and things like that. And I want to really connect with him as a guide as well. So that's the Fool, and I really wanted to just read to you guys what the Fool said, because it really kickstarted this whole idea within me to experience this 7 days. I cannot give you my name, and as I have none, or at least I have not the knowledge of it, you may think me a fool, for I cannot answer such a simple question. So a fool you may call me for now. I search for a name so I may know myself, but I cannot see the path that lies beyond the mists, nor do my feet know the direction they must take. I come from the east, from between the rays of the rising sun, and my hair flying free like the fire that burns in my head. I take a sacred leap that marks the beginning of the great journey. I trust, though I know nothing. Innocence is my strength. I am the divine spark that lives in the breath of inspiration. I do not know what force will hold me up, nor what fate may await me below, but I may find my name, my place, my voice. Sometimes you have to leap before you fly. My heart is open. Will you step through that gateway? To me, that cemented the connection that I want to establish with this person, this being. Because he didn't have a name until I created one for him, or he connected with me and told me his name. I've not seen his journey. I've not seen his life. I've not shared any experiences other than the meditation with this being. And so I feel like it's very much a mimicking process of creating a character or connecting with a being in a story, as I have done before. And I really want to go back to that creative process and watch it happen. And I don't expect it to be the same. I do not expect it to be the same, but I think it'll be a fascinating exploration of my psyche, of my intuition, of connecting with different elemental beings and earthly beings and energy, and really tapping into the power of bringing something out of nothing, or out of what you perceive as nothing and the unconscious, into being, and seeing how that character, that being, that dream guide can really make an impact in my life, and how that I may make an impact in his. And so I really, really love that. And so each day I plan to actually write a letter. Now, you can try this as a letter, a paragraph, a poem. I think I'm going to try a little bit of both, or rather. And if there's any symbols that you want to work into the dream messages, or maybe you want to work with a color or a particular word that can act as a trigger both in meditation, both in story and in your dream world, then I recommend you use that when you're writing your letter. So I'm thinking that I'm going to do this either at the start of the day or the end of the day. And if I do write at the start of the day, then I would probably read it again and add anything that I want to before I go to sleep. Using color as well, you could use crystals, you could use colored pens, you could use highlighters to highlight specific words that you want to come up, or specific images. And then you would call upon your guide or the fool or whatever symbol that you want to use, and then implant that into your dream and see what happens the next day. So that in itself would be a process that you could try to explore writing, to explore creating your own meditations, to creating story starters, and to also start really working with your guides. If you have one that you already have that you want to work with even deeper, um, it might be a really good practice for you guys to work together in developing that relationship on a different level. So for me, I'm going to write daily to this character, and not just write to them, conversate with them, because that is the main message and point that I really wanted to work with, is to start a conversation, start a dialogue. The more I dialogue with this being, the more I speak to this being on paper, in my journal, in my dreams, using tarot, the more that it will speak to me, and we can have a symbiotic relationship, hopefully, that is sustainable. And this is not something that I want to end. And if it does work out that this being is only here for a certain amount of time to show me certain things, that's fine. But it's definitely a relationship that I want to foster after the 7 days. I really feel like this being is a guide alongside another guide that I already have that is definitely in my soul team. And so use narrative form when you're um, creating your story, like, or creating a letter. It doesn't have to be a dear Peter Pan. I'm here today to write to you because I want to meditate with you. No, this is like a really great way for you to begin to explore the diverse ways that you can use your creativity. So, an idea that I had, and I may make a video about this so that I can kind of explain it a little bit deeper. And it kind of goes along the same lines as the shifting your story spread, where you are using a narrative form to look at the wider picture. And so you may lay 3 cards out, and then, talk about what you see in each card with that guide, with that being. You can write a little story, write a little poem about what you see. Maybe just go intuitively and free write, and then use that free write to expand in your dreams or expand in story. Or use that free write as a way to pick out symbols or things that you want to associate with that story or that being. And those are just a few ideas that I thought I'd throw out there because I want to try them myself, and I have done a few of these ideas in the past. And if you decide to use tarot to create spreads, or use a tarot to find different spreads as well, because I think using guidebooks for this exercise would be a fantastic way to give you a Kickstarter if you're having trouble. I do find that, it does come from within. It does come from within, most certainly. But I definitely think that this week I'm going to pick a guidebook off my shelf and explore a different spread. I'm thinking the Hidden Path spread and the Hidden Realms would be a nice one, because for me it is tapping into that forest and wildwood energy as well, and with the Fae. And I do believe this is like a pan-Fae kind of creature, being, person. And when you're doing that, begin to path work, or pick a card that you can path work with, and just really go into your heart and your chakras, and maybe work through those chakras as well. It's very, very spiritual. I'm sort of trying to cover a lot because I have a lot I want to say, but path work with them. So if you're going to be using, say you're going to use the Fool, and you want to find the elixir connected with the Fool. And so you could use those two as a meditative pathway experience, or you could use them as a narrative pathway experience, where you say, I'm on the road searching for the Fool. I see him standing at the edge of the cliff. He turns around holding a magic vial. I see it slip between his fingers. I run, but it's too late, for he's jumped to rescue it, and I have jumped too to follow him in his pursuit to find the magical elixir. That's just an example, random, but okay. So yeah, that's that. You could do that. And another idea is to use sigils, elixirs, and crystal grids, and to use a crystal or an object as a gateway to open, to like step through the threshold to meet with your guide or character, and to end the session. To end dyslexia abounds. So to end that session. And if you don't want to end that session, that's fine. If you want to keep being with that spirit guide, that's fine. I sort of think with the ending the session, I wouldn't recommend being absolutely consistently with this being. Like, you would like to give yourself a break, I think. But for people who are short with time or have a lot going on, this would be a great technique to just spend 20 minutes or 30 minutes a day writing, connecting, activating it, and then closing it down. And then make a promise with that being that you'll be back the next day, if possible, or whenever you can. So I'll be talking a little bit more about the crystal grid experience and possibly some elixirs and some sigils, because I have been working with sigils and I'm continuing to work with sigils, and exploring other things like hyper sigils as well, which is a whole different topic that I'm exploring. And so another idea very quickly before I go is that if you do struggle with connecting with the being in a location, because I do sometimes struggle with, I see the being but I don't see the location, I would recommend taking a book, a fiction book, or a non-fiction book if you want, with pictures, and pick out a location, or um, pick out a character from that book. I'm reading at the moment Touch of Power by Marie V. Snyder, an illusion, which is about like a virtual reality world, which has kind of made people very stuck in their own distorted realities and whatnot, which is fascinating and interesting that I picked it up around this time period as well. So I'm reading those two. So I would pick, for example, and I'm not spoiling this, the first location in Touch of Power is a small village that has been basically ransacked and is destroyed because of a plague. And so I might maybe not go into the village that was destroyed with the plague, but maybe I might want to. Maybe I might want to go into that village and see who needs healing. Maybe test out my magic, or maybe meet another healer and go on a journey with them, or something like that. Like, that's just an idea, like things that are going around in my head. And lastly, before I go, because I know this video is getting very long and I don't want to overload you guys with this, but look for patterns. And when I'm talking about looking for patterns and symbols, you guys know what I mean. For example, confirmation. That is the exact same image that is on my crystal grid. So confirmation. And funnily enough, I was thinking about swans in the wild unknown today a lot. Look for connections with your tarot cards as well. These two came up when I was flicking through things. They look very, very similar. And they have very similar meanings as well. So you can do a little path working with different images and colors as well. Like you could go, that is the solar plexus, the sacral, the third eye, and the crown. So you could work your way up with those colors and those chakras with the beings as well, using the tree as a grounding meditative point. And I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before. I'm working with this card to work on a lot of P stating words like passion and path. And each bat unlocks a threshold for me. He's a threshold guardian. So I've been using this card in a positive way, it has a very, I think it's like a threshold for me card. It's a threshold. It's not negative per se, but it definitely has that, you know, shit needs to change and crack open. So I'm using that as a meditative tool in my pathwork anyway, and my dreams as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's a lot to process and I've gone through a lot of things, but these are just the things that I've been thinking about, working on, planning, mapping out, starting, and putting together to explore this project. So thank you guys for watching. If it interests you and you want to participate, let me know. Otherwise, I will be sharing my tips and experiences, and hopefully you may find something from it that you can use in your own practice with the tarot and dreams and astral. So thank you guys for watching. Love you all. Bye.